Today, we're revealing 3 U.S. coins that could secretly make you rich. First, the 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar that some collectors are hunting for like treasure. Second, the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar, a coin many people still spend without realizing certain versions are super valuable. And third, the 1776 to 1976 Eisenhower dollar, with rare varieties that can sell for way more than $1. But here's the crazy part. One tiny detail on these coins can change their value completely. So before you spend another coin, watch this video and learn exactly what to look for, because you might already have a small fortune in your hands. The 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy Bicentennial half-dollar. Let's uncover what makes this coin ordinary at first glance, yet extraordinary to collectors. 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy Bicentennial half-dollar. The 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy Bicentennial half-dollar was born from celebration. In the early 1970s, as the United States prepared to commemorate its 200th anniversary of independence, Congress sought a bold and symbolic way to mark the moment. The result was a sweeping redesign of the nation's circulating coinage. The quarter, half-dollar, and dollar would all receive special bicentennial reverses dated 1776 to 1976, a dual date symbolizing 2 centuries of American history. The Kennedy half-dollar itself had already become an emotional and historical artifact. First introduced in 1964 following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the coin carried a powerful sense of national mourning and remembrance. Designed by Chief Engraver Gilroy Roberts on the obverse and Frank Gasparo on the reverse, the original Kennedy half-dollar featured a dignified portrait of the late president and the presidential seal. But for the bicentennial, the reverse would change dramatically. The United States Mint held a national design competition in 1973 to select the new reverse imagery. The winning design for the half-dollar came from Seth G. Huntington, whose depiction of Independence Hall in Philadelphia was selected for its historical gravitas and architectural precision. Independence Hall, the very building where both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were debated and adopted, became the centerpiece of the bicentennial half-dollar's reverse. The obverse retained Kennedy's portrait, still facing left, his hair carefully detailed, his expression resolute. Above his head, the word liberty stretches boldly, while the motto "I in God we trust" sits below his chin, split by the neckline truncation. The dual date 1776 to 1976 appears beneath the portrait, replacing the traditional single-year date. On coins minted at the Denver Mint, a small but crucial D mint mark appears just above the date, identifying its place of origin. The reverse is where the celebration truly lives. Independence Hall stands centered, its brick facade rendered in intricate relief. The clock tower rises with architectural clarity, and the building's symmetrical windows and arches reflect Huntington's attention to historical accuracy. Above the building, United States of America curves along the rim, while E pluribus unum is positioned above the structure. Below, half-dollar anchors the denomination. The design feels formal, patriotic, and monumental, exactly as intended. Production of the bicentennial half-dollar began in 1975. Interestingly, no half-dollars dated 1975 were ever struck for circulation. Instead, all coins minted during both 1975 and 1976 bore the dual date 1776 to 1976. This means that every Denver minted bicentennial half-dollar with the D mint mark could have been struck in either year, yet all share the same commemorative date. The mintage numbers for the 1776 to 1976 D Kennedy half-dollar are staggering. The Denver Mint struck approximately 287,565,248 clad circulation coins. This massive output immediately tells us something important. This coin is not rare in circulated condition. In fact, it remains one of the most commonly encountered half-dollars in circulation and collections today. The coin was struck in a standard copper-nickel clad composition for circulation, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This was the same metallic composition used for regular issue half-dollars since 1971. Unlike the special 40% silver bicentennial have struck in San Francisco for collectors, the Denver issue was strictly copper-nickel clad. Weighing 11.34 grams and measuring 30.6 millimeters in diameter, the coin carries a reeded edge and the substantial feel that made half dollars so popular in earlier decades. However, by the mid-1970s, half dollars were no longer widely used in everyday commerce. Vending machines rarely accepted them, and the public increasingly favored quarters and paper bills. As a result, many bicentennial half dollars were saved as souvenirs rather than spent. This widespread saving had a lasting impact on collector interest and market value. Because so many examples were preserved in uncirculated condition by patriotic Americans during the bicentennial celebration, high-grade coins are far more available than with many earlier issues. In circulated condition, the 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy half dollar typically holds only face value, 50 cents. Even lightly worn examples rarely command a premium due to their enormous mintage and availability. However, when we move into uncirculated grades, the picture changes slightly. In mint state 63 condition, these coins generally trade for around $2 to $4. In MS 65, values typically range from $5 to $10, depending on eye appeal and strike quality. The Denver Mint was known for producing coins with somewhat softer strikes during the 1970s, so sharply struck examples with strong detail in Kennedy's hair and crisp architectural lines on Independence Hall can command stronger premiums. At the highest certified levels, such as MS 67 or above, prices increase significantly. Superb gem examples graded MS 67 have sold for $50 to $100, and in rare cases even more when exceptional eye appeal and luster are present. Coins graded MS 68 are exceedingly scarce and can bring several $100s at auction. The combination of clean surfaces, booming mint luster, and flawless fields is exceptionally difficult to find given the production methods of the era. Beyond standard mint state grades, collectors also search for varieties and errors. While there is no major double die variety officially recognized for the Denver bicentennial half dollar comparable to famous double dies of earlier decades, minor die varieties and hub anomalies do exist. Collectors have identified examples showing minor doubling and lettering, particularly around Liberty and I In God We Trust, though most are subtle and require magnification. More dramatic mint errors are where excitement truly builds. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and struck-through errors have all been documented for the 1776 to 1976 D half dollar. Because of the coin's large size, off-center examples can be especially dramatic and visually striking. An off-center bicentennial half dollar with a clear date and mint mark can command $75 to $200 or more, depending on the percentage off strike and overall condition. Clipped planchet errors, where a curved section of the coin is missing due to a blanking error at the mint, are also collected enthusiastically. These typically sell in the $30 to $100 range. Broad strikes, coins struck without the restraining collar, display expanded diameters, and missing reading, often bringing similar premiums. Another intriguing area involves wrong planchet errors. Though extremely rare, a bicentennial half dollar struck on a smaller denomination planchet, such as a quarter or even a cent planchet, would command significant interest and potentially thousands of dollars at auction. Such pieces are extraordinarily scarce and represent dramatic minting mistakes. Toning also plays a role in collector demand. Because so many bicentennial halves were stored in rolls, envelopes, and coin albums, some have developed vibrant rainbow toning over the decades. Collectors are willing to pay strong premiums for attractively toned examples, especially those graded by major third-party grading services. A beautifully toned MS66 or MS67 coin could easily sell for multiples of its standard book value. The market for the 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy half dollar is driven not by rarity in the traditional sense, but by nostalgia, historical symbolism, and condition scarcity at the highest grades. For many Americans, this coin represents the bicentennial era itself, a time of national reflection, celebration, and unity. Collector interest remains steady, particularly among Kennedy half-dollar series enthusiasts who aim to assemble complete date and mint sets. Because no regular 1975 half-dollars exist, the bicentennial issue serves as the only representation for that production year. making it a mandatory inclusion in every complete set. The coin also appeals to thematic collectors focused on American history, Independence Hall, or patriotic designs. Its bold architectural reverse sets it apart visually from the standard presidential seal design used before and after 1976. In recent years, registry set competition has pushed prices for top population coins even higher. Collectors competing for the finest known examples are willing to pay substantial premiums for coins with the highest certified grades. This has led to record auction results for near-perfect specimens, despite the coin's otherwise common status. When evaluating a 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy half-dollar, collectors should examine strike sharpness, surface preservation, luster quality, and eye appeal. Weakness in Kennedy's hair above the ear and flatness in the lines of Independence Hall are common. Clean fields free of contact marks are essential for higher mint state grades, as the coin's large surface area makes it particularly susceptible to bag marks. Despite its high mintage, this coin remains a fascinating intersection of modern minting, patriotic celebration, and numismatic opportunity. While most examples are worth modest premiums at best, the thrill lies in the hunt for pristine gems, dramatic mint errors, or beautifully toned survivors that stand out from the crowd. More than just a commemorative issue, the 1776 to 1976 D. Kennedy Bicentennial half-dollar serves as a tangible reminder of America's 200th birthday. It connects the revolutionary spirit of 1776 with the modern optimism of 1976, captured forever in copper and nickel. And that's what makes this coin so compelling. It may not be rare in your pocket change. It may not contain silver. But in the right condition, with the right characteristics, and in the hands of the right collector, it can transform from a simple 50-cent piece into a prized and valuable artifact of American history. So the next time you come across a bicentennial half-dollar with that distinctive dual date and Denver mint mark, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the strike. Examine the surfaces. Consider the story it carries. Because sometimes, hidden within the most familiar coins, are the most fascinating stories waiting to be rediscovered. 1979, D. Susan B. Anthony $1 coin. The United States hadn't struck a circulating dollar coin since 1935, when the peace dollar quietly exited production. For decades passed before the Treasury introduced a new dollar coin, a smaller, more economical alternative to the cumbersome Eisenhower dollar. In 1979, the nation finally got its answer in the Susan B. Anthony dollar, and with it came a mix of excitement and controversy that would echo throughout coin collecting circles for decades. The face of the coin pays tribute to one of America's most significant and influential figures in the fight for women's rights. Susan B. Anthony was a pioneer of social change, a fearless leader in the women's suffrage movement, and a woman whose legacy continues to shape our nation. To honor her achievements, the mint placed her portrait on the obverse of the nation's new dollar coin, the first U.S. coin to feature a real woman other than a symbolic figure like Lady Liberty. At first glance, the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar looks unassuming. Made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, with a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, its appearance can easily be mistaken for a quarter or even a foreign coin. It weighs 8.1 grams, measures 26.5 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge. Although the planchet and metallic makeup were a departure from the larger and heavier dollar coins of the past, this new design was intended to cut costs and encourage everyday use. The obverse, front, of the 1979 D showcases a left-facing portrait of Susan B. Anthony. The likeness is dignified and purposeful, her hair pulled back, her gaze forward with determination. Encircling her portrait are the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," while the date, 1979, rests just below her neckline. Flipping to the reverse, back, we find an adaptation of an iconic American symbol, the eagle landing on the moon motif. This design was originally used on the Eisenhower dollar and pays tribute to the Apollo 11 lunar landing. The eagle clutching an olive branch above the lunar surface, surrounded by 13 stars, invokes both historical achievement and national pride. Around this scene are the words "United States of America, e pluribus unum," and $1. The Denver Mint, denoted by the D mint mark located on the reverse just above the date, produced the bulk of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollars. In contrast to the Philadelphia Mint, which did not place a mint mark on its issues that year, Denver struck over 288 million coins, making the 1979 D one of the most common modern U.S. dollar coins in existence. With numbers like that, one might ask, how could a coin with such a high mintage ever become rare or valuable? The answer lies in the public's reaction to the coin and later numismatic discoveries. Despite the historical significance of honoring Susan B. Anthony, the public response to the new dollar coin was lukewarm at best. Its size and color closely resembled that of the quarter, and the similarity confused cashiers and consumers alike. Many dollars were quickly hoarded, lost in pocket change, or dumped into drawers and jars rather than circulated for everyday transactions. The coin's disappointing performance ultimately led to its quick disappearance from circulation and eventual replacement by the Sacagawea dollar in 2000. Out of this lackluster reception, however, emerged one of the most fascinating collecting stories in modern U.S. coinage: the recognition of rare varieties and the long quest to catalog and understand them. For the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar, the most coveted variety among collectors is the so-called 1979 D wide rim dollar. This variety differs from the more common regular strike in one very specific way. The distance between the rim and the start of the design elements on the obverse is noticeably wider. In expert numismatic terms, this is sometimes characterized as a broad rim or off-center hub variety, but it's the visual effect that matters. The wide rim coins show significantly more blank surface between the rim and the dentils, the tooth-like rim decoration, than the standard examples. Why does this matter? In the early phases of the Susan B. Anthony dollar's production, some dies were machined improperly or misaligned, resulting in slight differences in how the coin's design was impressed into the planchet. Because these wide rim coins occurred in relatively low numbers compared to the vast majority of regular strikes, they became rarities. And as any collector knows, rarity fuels demand. In addition to the wide rim, there are a handful of other less common varieties and die states that serious collectors study and pursue. Some coins show double die errors, where parts of the design appear to have a shadowed or doubled appearance due to misalignment during the die creation process. Others may show die cracks, die clashes, or weak strikes that lend them unique appeal. Market values for 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollars can vary widely based on condition, eye appeal, and whether the coin is one of the rarer varieties. Common circulated examples, those that have seen everyday use, with wear on the high points of the design, might trade for only a few dollars above face value. For many collectors, simply owning a set of all the major mint years and types of Susan B. Anthony dollars is an essential foundational step in their collection. Uncirculated examples, coins that show no signs of wear and retain full mint luster, command significantly higher values. A 1979 D in mint state grade, generally MS60, MS63, might fetch $15 to $50 or more, depending on the specific grade and eye appeal. Higher grade mint state coins, particularly those graded MS65 or better by reputable third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC, can command hundreds of dollars or more. When we turn to the rare wide rim variety, values escalate accordingly. Even in lower mint state grades, wide rim 1979 D dollars can attract premiums over their common counterparts. Coins that showcase sharp detail, attractive surfaces, and strong eye appeal are especially desirable to advanced collectors. Certified examples, authenticated and graded by a trusted service, often bring the best prices at auction or in private sales. But numbers and values can only tell part of the story. What truly makes the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar fascinating is the way it bridges everyday life with numismatic intrigue. These coins pass through the hands of ordinary Americans, given as change at supermarkets, tucked into wallets, misplaced in pockets. And yet they also became objects of intense study by collectors eager to uncover every variation and anomaly. The story of this coin's release also speaks to broader themes in U.S. monetary history. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was emblematic of a period when the U.S. government was actively attempting to reform and modernize its currency, reduce production costs, replace worn coinage, and encourage the public to embrace new denominations. Its rocky reception illustrates the unpredictable nature of public acceptance. No matter how well-designed or economically sound a new coin might be, if it doesn't resonate with everyday users, it can quickly fade into obscurity. Yet decades later, that very obscurity has become part of its allure. Where once the 1979 D-dollar was ignored or even mocked, sometimes called the ugly dollar because of its similarity to a quarter, today collectors celebrate it as a cornerstone of modern numismatics. From the casual hobbyist building a type set to the advanced collector specializing in die varieties, this coin holds a place of respect and fascination. Collectors often compare the 1979 D. Anthony dollar to other modern coin series, such as the Eisenhower dollar or later Sacagawea and presidential dollars, to gauge how modern issues have fared in the marketplace and in public usage. And while the Anthony dollar's lifespan was short, 1979 through 1981, with a brief resurgence in 1999, its impact has been lasting. What should you look for if you're evaluating a 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar for your own collection or investment? Condition is paramount. Examine the high points of Susan B. Anthony's portrait, her cheek, hair, and neckline, for signs of wear. On the reverse, look at the lunar surface and the eagle's feathers. Well-defined details are a sign of a strong strike. Next, inspect the rims and fields, the flat surfaces of the coin, under good lighting. Collectors of the wide rim variety compare the spacing between the design and the rim on the obverse. This is a subtle but identifiable distinction once you know what to look for. Certification from a respected grading service adds confidence for buyers and often higher market value. A coin graded by PCGS, NGC, or ANAX, especially if attributed as a wide rim or with an error designation, will typically bring more interest from serious collectors. Historical documentation also matters. Provenance, or knowing where a coin came from and its ownership history, can add a compelling dimension, especially for rare varieties or particularly attractive high-grade examples. And while market values fluctuate over time based on collector demand, economic conditions, and auction results, the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar has demonstrated lasting strength. Serious collectors recognize its place in U.S. coinage history, and every interesting find, whether a pristine example or a rare variety, fuels that ongoing passion. In closing, the 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony $1 coin is much more than a piece of metal. It's a work of art, a chapter of American history, and a dynamic collector's challenge that continues to thrill numismatists decades after its release. From the compelling story of Susan B. Anthony herself to the fascinating die varieties that keep collectors searching through rolls and boxes, this coin rewards those who dive deep to understand its nuances. Whether you're just starting your collection or you're a seasoned enthusiast of modern U.S. coins, the 1979 D. Anthony dollar is a piece that must be on your radar, not just for its value, but for the rich narrative woven into every finely struck example. And that's the true heart of numismatics. Every coin has a story. This is not just any Eisenhower dollar. This is the Denver-minted Bicentennial issue, struck to commemorate the 200th anniversary of American independence. Unlike standard Eisenhower dollars that feature Ike's presidential portrait and an eagle landing on the moon on the reverse, this special coin boasts a unique reverse design, a spirited rendition of the Liberty Bell superimposed over the moon. Yes, America's iconic symbol of freedom boldly paired with the celestial achievement of the Apollo lunar landing, a design choice that screams celebration and national pride. The imagery was approved in 1973, and the coins were produced from 1975 into 1976, bearing the dual date, 1776 to 1976, to mark the bicentennial. Critics and enthusiasts alike have praised the design's boldness, its symbolism, and its uniqueness, which already sets the stage for intrigue. Before we talk mintage and market value, let's set the historical context because that's what makes this coin more than just metal stamped with images. It embodies an era of reflection, ambition, and national identity. The United States was preparing for its bicentennial celebration, a once-in-a-lifetime commemoration of 200 years since the Declaration of Independence, with events, parades, reenactments, and cultural ceremonies scheduled across the nation. the U.S. Mint had a unique opportunity. Craft a coin that felt both patriotic and emblematic of contemporary American achievement. Enter the Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar. These coins were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and for collectors, in San Francisco. What made them instantly iconic was not only the date, but the new reverse design by sculptor Dennis R. Williams, featuring a bold, centered Liberty Bell with a crisp, lunar backdrop. The design was both a nod to the founding ideals of liberty and an acknowledgement of the technological pinnacle reached just a few short years earlier with the Apollo missions. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty that collectors live for: mintage numbers and production details. The 1776-1976 D. Eisenhower $1 was struck at the Denver Mint, and unlike typical Eisenhower dollars, it does not carry the usual single-year date of strike. Instead, every bicentennial Eisenhower dollar, whether from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, carries the dual date 1776 to 1976. For Denver specifically, hundreds of millions were struck for circulation, which on the surface might make you think these coins are common. And in terms of sheer numbers, that's true. Over 533 million pieces were produced at Denver for general circulation. But here's where things get interesting. What most collectors are not talking about are the rarities and valuable varieties hidden within these massive mintage figures. Because when you look up close at strike quality, die pairs, planchet condition, and errors, a world of value appears that goes well beyond face value. First, let's acknowledge the basic collector categories. There are circulation strikes, the coins you might find in pocket change if you were lucky. There are mint set examples, those coins that were specially selected and packaged by the U.S. Mint for collectors in annual uncirculated sets. There are also proof issues from the San Francisco Mint, struck on specially polished planchets. But for the Denver Bicentennial, the coins most often talked about by serious collectors are high-grade uncirculated examples and error coins, particularly those with unusual striking characteristics that make them stand out from the pack. One of the most sought-after qualities in any Eisenhower dollar is full cartwheel, a term collectors use to describe a coin that exhibits perfect luster and mirror-like surfaces that reflect light in a dazzling way. Denver Bicentennial dollars in brilliant uncirculated grades, especially those graded MS-67 and above by professional grading services, command significant premiums. That's because although hundreds of millions were made, only a small fraction survived with no bag marks, contact marks, or wear. In the grading world, an MS-70, a perfect coin with no visible flaws even under magnification, is virtually a unicorn for modern issues like this one. In extremely fine condition, values may range from 5 to 15 pounds. But once we move into brilliant uncirculated territory, especially coins preserved in original mint sets or saved directly from banks, prices climb significantly. High-end uncirculated examples can sell for 20 to 50 pounds. Certified top-grade specimens graded by professional services can command even higher premiums, particularly if they exhibit exceptional luster and sharp strike detail. Now let's talk about rare and valuable varieties, because this is where the excitement builds. Although the 1968 10p was not known for dramatic design changes, subtle die variations, and striking anomalies exist. Collectors search for double die obverse, where elements of the Queen's portrait or lettering show visible doubling due to misalignment during die creation. These varieties can be difficult to detect without magnification, but authenticated examples can sell for strong premiums due to their scarcity. Off-center strikes also appear occasionally. These occur when the planchet is not perfectly aligned in the striking press. Depending on how dramatic the misalignment is, values can rise dramatically. A slight off-center example may bring modest premiums, while a dramatic error retaining a visible date can command well over 100 pounds among error specialists. Another collectible category includes broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread slightly beyond its intended diameter. These pieces have softer edges and a slightly expanded appearance. Because error collecting has grown significantly in popularity in recent decades, unusual 1968 10p errors can bring impressive auction results. There is also collector demand for coins with exceptional toning. Copper-nickel coins sometimes develop subtle golden, blue, or iridescent hues over decades. While toning does not always increase value, Aesthetically pleasing examples can command premiums, especially if the surfaces remain unblemished. One fascinating aspect of the 1968 new 10-pence coin is its role as a long-term circulating type. The large-size 10p remained in circulation until 1992, when it was replaced with a smaller version to reduce production costs and align with European coin sizes. When the smaller 10p was introduced, the older large coins were gradually withdrawn. Many were melted down. This melting reduced the surviving population of high-grade examples, particularly those that had not been saved by collectors. The transition from large to small 10p coins renewed collector interest in the original 1968 issue. As people realized the larger coins were disappearing from circulation, they began searching through change jars and coin albums. This surge of interest elevated the coin's profile in British numismatics. Market demand today remains steady. The 1968 10p appeals to multiple categories of collectors. Decimal transition specialists view it as a cornerstone piece. Elizabeth II portrait collectors appreciate it as part of the long-running Mackin effigy series. Error collectors hunt for dramatic, striking anomalies. And general British coin collectors include it in type sets representing the dawn of decimal Britain. Investment potential depends heavily on grade and rarity. Common circulated pieces are unlikely to skyrocket in value due to the high original mintage. However, premium uncirculated examples and verified error coins have shown consistent appreciation. As more collectors seek high-grade decimal era coins, competition for the finest surviving specimens intensifies. Beyond numbers and prices, the true value of the 1968 Elizabeth II new 10-pence coin lies in its historical symbolism. It represents a moment when Britain modernized its economy while preserving continuity through design. The crown lion stood firm as the nation stepped into a new financial era. The youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II signaled stability during transformation. Few coins embody such a clear narrative of change balanced with tradition. When you hold this coin, you are holding the physical embodiment of decimal days preparation. You are touching a transitional artifact that eased millions of citizens into a simpler, more modern currency system. That historical weight adds emotional and cultural value that goes far beyond catalog listings. For collectors building a serious decimal era set, securing a sharply struck, fully lustrous 1968 example is essential. For error specialists, careful inspection under magnification may reveal hidden treasures. And for long-term investors, focusing on top-grade certified pieces offers the strongest growth potential. The 1968 Elizabeth II new 10-pence coin may have started as a practical solution to monetary reform, but today it stands as one of the most important modern British coins. It bridges centuries of monetary tradition and signals the dawn of decimal Britain. Another reason collectors love the 1776-1976 Bicentennial dollar is its role in American coinage history. The U.S. Mint made a rare move by issuing a commemorative design across all denominations of circulating coinage, not just this dollar, but also the quarter and half dollar. This nationwide celebration in metal connects families, history buffs, and numismatists to a defining moment in American culture. So if you're watching this and thinking about buying, selling, or grading your own Denver Bicentennial Eisenhower dollar, here's what to keep in mind. First, condition is king. Always have high-grade coins authenticated and graded by a reputable service like NGC or PCGS. Second, learn to identify key error types. Some of the most valuable coins hide in plain sight. Third, understand market trends. Prices fluctuate with collector demand, economic forces, and auction results. In closing, the 1776-1976 Eisenhower $1 is far more than a piece of pocket change. It's a capsule of American history, a canvas of iconic symbolism, and a treasure trove of potential value for the informed collector. Its high mintage may make standard coins common, but the exciting world of high grades and error varieties ensures that passion, rarity, and value continue to thrive around this remarkable coin. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just discovering the thrill of coin collecting, this bicentennial Eisenhower dollar deserves a place in your collection, not just for what it was, but for what it represents: 2 centuries of freedom, achievement, and the unending pursuit of something extraordinary. Stay tuned to Coin's numismatic series, where every coin has a story and every collector finds a new adventure.